My name is Sherrill. I was in the school system for 31 years, starting off with Hill Street, Stevens Lee, South French Broad, and then of course Asheville High School in 1969-70. 1969-70 was the year that we integrated the Asheville City Schools on the high school level. This was the year that those students who went to David Millard, those students who attended South French Broad High School, we all were consolidated into one unit. It was grades 10 through 12. The sad part about the whole situation is this is the first time on the high school level that our students had ever been with each other racially. Prior to that, Asheville City Schools, like many schools in the South, were segregated. And this, of course, brought along a lot of tension because there were those who, in particular, leaving South French Broad, which was a relative new school, built just a couple of years prior to the integration, did not want to leave that school. And there's something about leaving an institution that you are jointly a part of. It's almost like giving up part of your life. However, we did have a very good beginning the first couple of days of school. And then, of course, on that Monday morning when we went back to school, we started getting announcements that students were walking out of the classroom. Now, what they had planned and what they did was they planned on protesting. And their protest was going to consist of going to the front steps of Asheville High School and reading their demands. And those demands, of course, were they didn't want to be there. Two, they felt that there was not enough integration in the classes as far as Black history. We had a white teacher at the time teaching Black history, and they, for some reason, felt that a white teacher could not teach Black history. We had cosmetology, which was another issue. They felt, of course, that a white teacher could not teach Black cosmetology. So on that particular Monday morning, we had students coming from all parts of the building to protest. The principal, of course, had asked that they report back to class, that he'd take the protest, he'd read them, and then, of course, we agree on them. At that particular time, I was serving as Dean of Boys for the school, Dean of Boys and assistant principal. We had a Dean of Girls who served as the Dean of Girls and assistant principal. So we had an administrative team of 4 people. They did not wish to adhere to that demand. So what started then, of course, was a riot. The riot was concentrated on a new vocational building which sat over near the Little Pigs. And it just so happened that a local construction company had just completed the building, and they, but all of the things they could have done, should not have done, they left stones. If you look at the vocational building, it's built out of stones. They left a pile of stones there, big bricks, big rocks. And the students proceeded to hurl those rocks and stones into the building, knocking out glasses, breaking and destroying the property. We had to call in the police. And we called the police, they came in riot gear. And we had a full-blown riot. Now, the thing about it was nationwide, we were all living in a turmoil during the early 70s. You had the Vietnam War that people were protesting about. You had the hippies who were protesting against certain things. You had drugs that were beginning to come on the scene and being used by many people. So we were melded in the midst of all of this. and we were trying to deal with it as a part of it. Well, the riot lasted for several hours, at which time there were students who were arrested. No one was brutally beaten. However, I've heard that several people were hit with the nightsticks, and some were arrested. At the end of the day, we closed the school down and went under a school injunction, which meant, of course, that we were limited as to activities. No one could enter the campus unless they had special permission. No one could leave. No school activities could be held, and we were completely isolated from any kind of activities. This lasted for several months. But it was one of the best things that could have happened, because a lot of heads cooled off. A lot of things, of course, started developing. And from that point on, Asheville High began to progress, because students were beginning to be familiar with each other, trusted each other. And when I returned in 1979, the school had made a 360-degree turn as far as race relations were concerned.